Can you imagine how much the ticket would be if the officer pulled you over and said, "Do you not know that driving on the sidewalk is illegal? It's against the law." If you said to the officer, "Well, I didn't see a sign that said no driving on the sidewalk, so I presumed it was okay," you think you'd get away with that for long? Welcome to Leading Leaders Podcast, 5-minute videos, 5 days a week. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. One of the things that really fascinates me is how people play fast and loose with definitions. And by definitions, I mean words that have direct impact and meaning on the way that we conduct ourselves in open society, the way that we interact with people that we work with or the people we work for. As leaders, it's pretty common to have a definition of show up to work on time. It's pretty common to have a definition of this is the amount of work that you're going to do or you're going to be written up. And if you don't do the work that you're supposed to be doing, you're going to get fired eventually, right? I mean, those parameters in society, they're pretty nice to know what it's going to be, to know that if you're married, there are certain expectations in your marriage. If you live in a family and your parents have certain expectations of you, that you know what those expectations are. And yet, we have this word thrown about like a bully club called social justice. And if you ask 10 people what social justice means, you're probably going to get 12 or 13 different answers. And by that, I mean at least a few of those people, while you're getting the answer to the question, will give you more than one answer to the question because it's really hard to put your finger on. In fact, it's more like taking a stab at the fog, trying to figure out what is social justice? How do we apply it? What is it for? What is its purpose? What's the end game? And the truth of the matter is the ideas behind what we currently label as social justice, those ideas have been around since 1920 or so, at least. From Italy, most of them, and then later in Germany, and then later in Russia, and now spread throughout the world in various forms of governments and religions and practices. But the idea of social justice, to boil it down into a really simplistic nutshell, is to say that one governing body has all the right ideas about what you should do with your wealth, what you should do with your time, what you should do as a vocation, what you should learn, and that governing body, whomever they may be, they know better than you do about how to raise your kids, about how to spend your money, about how to spend your time, about what to do with your education, what to do with your vocation. And because they know better than you do, you should basically surrender to them all of your rights to decide, all of your rights to earn income, all of your rights to defend yourself, all of your rights to be educated. You just hand them over. Just, give them over to this one governing body, and this one governing body will kind of take care of all of that for you. That they would redistribute the wealth to the right people so that everybody has an equal amount. Now, of course, in order for that to happen, what that means is that people that currently have a lot of money and people who currently have no money would be on the even playing field, which some people who have no money see that as a great thing, and people who have a lot of money think that's not such a great thing. But here's the reality. In order for that to happen, the only way that's going to happen is if everybody for a certain period of time has nothing and only the governing body has everything. Let that sink in for a minute, because what that means is there's going to be a season where only the governing body has wealth, rights, education, knowledge, privilege, power, and influence. And everybody else has nothing while they wait for this governing body to redistribute the wealth and the knowledge and the power and the ability to defend themselves. Is this beginning to ring any bells yet? Beginning to strike any chords yet? In fact, the United Nations in its charter has a definition of social justice. And one of the comments made in that definition is that where people hold fast to an absolute truth and definition of justice, there will never be social justice. Let that one sink in for a minute. If you believe in an absolute truth, and you believe that justice comes from absolute truth, then the ambiguity with which social justice is currently defined, meaning The governing body can call it whatever they want to today because they still know what it does and how it functions. So you can call it whatever you want to. You can label any problem that you encounter in life as social justice, and it's kind of like driving on the sidewalk. No one really knows what the rules are, so nobody knows how to play by them. Nobody really knows what the rules are, so nobody knows how to challenge them. Nobody knows what the rules are, so nobody knows how to contest them. And as a result, the governing body continues to gain more power, and millions of confused people think they're doing good for their fellow neighbor by confiscating the wealth of the wealthy and giving it to the poor, like a modern-day Robin Hood. But the reality is, what you're doing is empowering one governing body. Oh, they're very fluid and ambiguous. Right now, you don't know exactly who that governing body is. In fact, in the U.S., we look at the left and the right as two different political parties, and as many have said, it's just different wings of the same bird. If you believe in absolute truth and you believe that justice has a defined meaning, then social justice can't be as ambiguous in your vocabulary, and that makes you a problem for the governing body that wants to institute social justice. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day. Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.